Now, I could sit here for the next few minutes and wax lyrical about how all these things make the kit more interesting and more charming, and I do sort of go in for that. I mean, I always like things that are a little bit quirky and unusual. However, I am using the kit as a professional tool, and not to get too philosophical, but this year I've really been focusing on simplicity and ease, just in my overall life. When I look at this room, which is where I generally work, for the last few months, obviously, I've had a lot of drum kits come and go for different videos, and the room itself ergonomically needs to work to make my life as easy as possible. This room is about 10.5 feet by about 12 feet. And I've actually got my TD30 kit permanently set up. I've got a desk with a monitor. I've got my little Pearl kit just stacked up in the corner in its cases. And then I've normally got, in this space here, as you may already know, I've normally got a kit set up for recording. Now, that used to be my Star Classic because I would gig with the little Pearl kit before I had the Heyman, and I'd leave the Star Classic just set up in here ready for recording. But as I started making more and more of these videos, I kind of got to the point where I kept having to move the Star Classic out, which meant that it ended up stacked up. And then I got the Heyman and I was like, great, I'm gonna use the Heyman for the gigs, use the Star Classic as and when I don't have a kit in here. But the problem has been, when I do have a kit in here, the room becomes a mess very quickly. And the harder it is to work in here, the longer everything takes me. So when it comes to the Heyman kit, despite how charming and interesting it is, it's not really adding to my sort of overall professional workflow or being. And there is one other problem with it, which I only kind of realised after a few different people mentioned it to me. I've had 3 separate sound engineers say to me, I'm struggling with that bass drum. And that's kind of annoying because I've got a really good skin on it. Maybe the Reza side could be a little bit better. You know, there's not really much more I could do with it. And I even had a sound check recently where we actually had loads of time and we just sat playing with it, you know, myself and the guy who was doing the sound. We were adding more stuff inside it, taking stuff out of it, we were tuning the front skin, back skin, other than probably trying a different beta, being that that's the beta I use on every other kit and I've never had a problem. There's not really much more that I can think that I can do with it. And I'm not sure why I can't get the sound that I want. But the fact is that with the Star Classic, without even trying, I got more than the sound I wanted. And that just makes it, again, so much easier. If I can walk into a venue, take the kit out the cases and just know that it's going to sound great, you know, that's everything. And with the best will in the world, the Star Classic is probably the better all-round kit.